Fog Football back with another video. We're going to be looking at why was Giovanni Van Bronckhorst sacked. We're going to take a look at his signings this season. We're going to take a look at who he got rid of this season, and we're going to take a look at the results that eventually led to the demise of the Giovanni Van Bronckhorst era. You could look at last season, but I feel like we'll just look at this season because, yeah, you could look at the whole year. But, I felt like we've done enough about talking about last year's season. Let's just leave, last year's season in the past. Ramsey, disaster. Europa League final, fucking collapsed there. Bottled the league to Celtic, got pumped by Celtic a few times at home, including, and then another game at Parkhead. So let's just talk about why Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was sacked. Earlier we promised we'd go into more detail and break it down. Well, here's that fucking video, son. Now, in terms of looking at this season for Gio, we're going to look at the transfers that he brought in. Now, he brought in John Souttar on a free transfer, which I actually think is not a bad deal, if I'm being honest, right? Yeah, he's very injury prone, and on his day, he's a very good defender, but that's the problem. On his day, he's always injured, But I don't think it's a bad signing. Colak has been a very good signing, in my opinion. He's top goal scorer, he bangs in the goals. Questionable about his build-up play and all that stuff. But again, if you don't get the service, you can't really do much, to be honest, in there. But Tom Lawrence, we've got a pretty good player. I hear he is sadly injured, but I feel like Rangers have missed Tom Lawrence big time. And I think this is probably behind Colak as our best signing. And then we got Rabbi Matondo. Shite, do not rate this guy. I think there is potential. He only is 21, he has played for Wales, but he's not at the World Cup, put it that way. But 2.5 million we signed him for. It probably was a risk worth taking, if I'm being honest about him. Tillman, again, Tillman's been pretty good, some vital goals. Probably gets a lot of unfair criticism for how good that he actually has been. Ben Davies, though, 3 million. I don't rate Ben Davies. I'm sorry, I don't. I think it was much better to keep Katic and Balogun rather than bring in Ben Davies. We signed him from Liverpool, and did he didn't play a game for them. I don't know, waste of money, big time. And then Ridvan Yilmaz, I think this kid will come good. 3.4 million. Looks like a waste of money now when it gets compared to the likes of Hatate and all, O'Reilly, all them combined, and it's fuck, that's the price of Yilmaz. But I think Rangers will make a pretty decent profit on him nonetheless. In terms of who he's let go, who do I agree with? I'll go through everyone and say who I agree with. Right, Itten, totally agree. Balogun, totally disagree. You see what Rangers are dealing with at the back, right? we've got Leon King, right? Who, in my opinion, he's the front at the deep end, but I've seen nothing from him to suggest this guy is going to be the next Maldini, which a lot of people thought before he got these string of games. I understand Champions League, right? Yeah, he's going to be found out at that level, right? But even in games against Dundee or fucking Livingston, he's pish. So I'm not really seeing it. Andy Firth, Mayo Hasty, totally agree. Joe Rebo, you know what? I know we get 10 million or so, but looking back, we shouldn't have. What is 10? It was kind of just we'll sell Bassey and Aribo and keep, and because that'll save us up for the Champions League money. Then we got the Champions League money anyway. So you know what? I'm going to Aribo and Bassey. Two phenomenal players. Bassey got 25 million. It'll rise to 25. You know what? We'll take that. I'll take the Bassey, but we shouldn't let Aribo go. McPake and Kennedy, they're just loans, it's fair enough. Middleton, transfer, fair enough. Jack Simpson, yep, fair enough. Sikowski, don't have any problems with that, even though we probably should have kept another right back at the club. So maybe probably shouldn't have loaned him out. And then Kelly, I agree with that. Katic shouldn't have got rid of him. Katic and Balogun, if you follow them on Instagram, you can genuinely see that they care about the club. They always post about it. Balogun posting about leaving Glasgow, he was sad. There's always photos of them watching the Rangers games. Two guys that actually were really liked by the fan base and were good servants. I know Katic was fucking good until he picked up his injury. But Keeping Katic and Balogun compared to like bringing in Ben Davies. Give me that every day of the week. No, like what? I don't understand the logic behind any of this for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, man. He's a bit of a absolute wanker. But we are going to look at our friendlies, because this is where Gio, my opinion, started to go downhill. I think there was warning signs throughout all these games. We were getting beat by Sunderland. That game got abandoned. We beat Partick Thistle. We beat Blackpool 2-1. We beat West Ham, which was actually an alright game. Tottenham get beat. I even said in that game there was warning signs. People were like, oh, it's Tottenham though. We beat Queen's Park. Then, of course, we've got that game coming up against Bayern 11 Cushion. Now into the league. 2-1 win against Livy. It was pretty shite. It was a late goal that won us at Tav. Then 2-0 against Kelly, followed up by a 4-0 against St Johnstone. You're thinking, right, 9 points out of 9. Alright. Then Hibs, that was just not good. That was not good in my opinion. Like, just needless fucking reds. Even though you could question that they both weren't reds, it was still given as reds. And again, kind of just bottled it in the last minute, even though it was a good finish and just no closing down whatsoever. We then went on to beat Ross County 4-0. Again, comprehensive. But you can even see that, like, there is the odd sprinkle of, like, 4-0s in here, including a 4-0 against Celtic. Celtic pumped us 4-0. And in my opinion, Gio should have got the fucking sack after this game, because it's just not good enough. I'm sorry. It's a bunch of old firms now where he's been getting spanked. Like, we didn't even put up a fight, man. Embarrassing. Truly, truly embarrassing. We scraped 2-1 against Dundee United. Abysmal performance. Performance. Rangers against Hearts. Again, that flattered us big time. Then against St Mirren. That was no bad. Thought we were back. And then Motherwell scraped that. A Tillman goal that was particularly overrated. Played awful against Livy. Scraped a 1-1 draw. Aberdeen weren't too bad, but again, helped by Aberdeen playing 2 up top. And they actually went for it, which was weird. Got beat 2-1 by St Johnstone. Embarrassing. Scraped a 1-0 win against Hearts, who realistically, I think if Hearts turned up, they'd have won that game, but they didn't. They were fucking horrendous. And then St Mirren, we drew 1 each with them in the latest game. Scottish League Cup, we've won 2 games in that. That was an absolutely abysmal game against Dundee. And then in terms of the Champions League, awful performance against Union St Gilloise. We then beat them 3-0 at Ibrox. Decent enough game. Again, wasn't particularly great, but we beat them. 2 each against PSV. Again, weak. Very weak defensively at set pieces. Some people just seem to think that Connor Goldson's fucking invincible and he's so fucking great. But again, scrolling through all these games, I bet you there's goals he let in, and including the Europa League final last season, so I'm no forgiving him, big man. Then we had a 1-0 win against PSV away. Again, PSV were shocking, but we managed to scrape it. And then I need to even say anything about this, right? This 4-0, 3-0, 2-0, 7-1, 3-0, 3-1. Gio, son, it's time to go, and thankfully that day's fucking came. And as this video comes to an end, why was Gio sacked? Well, I'll tell you why he was sacked, because it just wasn't good enough from a Rangers manager. I mean, if you compare it to Murty, you compare it to Pedro Casinha, of course it's much better, but you've got to do the math, right? We are almost back at those levels, so, you know, obviously, like, he's not lost as nearly as many games as Emmons, right? But see, in terms of how Rangers are playing, we look done. We look shite. And we've looked shite for a long time. And I don't see it getting better under... Well, I don't see it getting better. I just didn't see it getting better under Gio. Like, how could anyone truly be Gio in? You know, honestly, like, it was the same when Arsenal and Arsene Wenger, and obviously Gio did not have 20 odd years under his belt, right? But it's like, you get to a point with a football club where a manager takes you to the point where he can take you. And that's it. There is obviously generational managers where you need someone else in, like Ferguson and like Guardiola, for example, let's say. Guardiola's got an open checkbook, so he can just stay there forever because he's a damn good coach. You've got Ferguson, the greatest manager of all time. You know, with Wenger, he was left behind by the board and stuff, but here, You could argue, yes, Gio's been jobbed out by the board, but there's no excuses to be jobbing out to all these teams in the league, and no excuse to be getting pumped left, right, and centre in the Champions League and also by Celtic. When he took charge, Rangers had a better team than Celtic. We look a year later, we are fucking nowhere near Celtic. And on that note, guys, Gio is out. Wish the best to him, but I'm glad it's over. It's done.